So in this session we were discussing what we were going to do and planning out what we're going to do in the workshop, which we're going to run at the end of the piece. So we're going to split off the audience into smaller groups, and each cast member will run a group on their own each. So these workshops are going to be consolidating all the ideas from the play, putting into effect some of the ideas, some of the strategies of getting someone to open up, of communicating, and putting them into practice, and just making sure that no one has any questions and everyone kind of gets the message of the play. So we decided we were going to include in the workshop was we were first going to say hi and introduce ourselves, and tell them that we're not going to sit here and get them to talk about their feelings, because it's not a therapy session, but all it is that us give them strategies to help others open up. And once they open up and express their feelings, they feel less isolated. So we first decided we'd unpick how Adam helped John, because this was a very important. Because it happened right at the end of the piece, and I want to know how he helped him and how we can apply that how they can apply that to their lives. So I think what we could say how he helped him is by telling him, seeing how he feels, and then just saying it back to him. So saying, "Oh, I see you're looking very stressed at the moment." So just by being there and listening to him, being a non-judgmental ear for him to talk to and confide in, it makes John feel less isolated, and that just has a huge impact. Of course, it doesn't magically solve his problems, but just knowing that there's someone there who knows what's going on and you can talk to if you need to, and who will be on your side, it makes all the difference. So we also want to talk about how Adam chose not to drink and to instead look after John, and that is a very loyal and kind and mature thing to choose to do, and it helped him tremendously, as you can see the difference between when John was on his own. It escalated and got angry, ended up fighting his girlfriend and making himself feel more isolated. Whereas when Adam was there looking out for him, he made sure he got home okay, made sure he didn't get hurt, and took control in where John was excessively drinking to forget his problems, and Adam was making sure that he was okay, and that the drinking didn't become about being a coping mechanism, because Adam was there to protect him. So then we want to move on to talk about how to get the different strategies to get people to open up, and the things that you should definitely avoid saying if you want someone to talk to you. So we started off saying what annoys them when someone tries to get them to open up. So then they apply it to their real life, and it becomes more personal and less distant, and they become more connected to what we're asking them of them and what we're saying. So we've got some suggestions of that, and then we have a board with 7 deadly sins on, and we can apply their suggestions to the ones that we have on the board. So the 7 deadly sins that we have are denial of feelings. So that's like, for example, if someone says they're feeling very hurt by someone, say someone's offended them and they're feeling very hurt by it, the person saying, "Oh no, you're not hurt. Come on, you're not sad about that." Which you don't want to hear. You want to hear someone being supportive and supporting you, so you don't feel so isolated. The next one was philosophical response. So this is like if you have a breakup and someone says, there's plenty more fish in the sea. Because these philosophical responses are so impersonal, so distant from you, that it's hard to apply it to yourself, and it's hard to let them make you feel better because they feel so unrealistic and just not helpful for you, because they don't make you feel better and they don't make you feel like you've been listened to. So the next one is well-meaning advice. So this could work, and as for all of these 7 deadly sins, I'm not saying that none of them will ever work in any situation, because everyone's different. So some of them are bound to work. So in some situations, if someone gives you advice, it might be useful for you and you might appreciate that. But in lots of situations, giving well-meaning advice when someone is upset or angry, they don't want to hear it. All they want is you to take their side and to feel like their problems are valid. So giving well-meaning advice, like if you're feeling very depressed, someone telling you to maybe go for a run, and at that point you don't want that kind of advice. You want someone to feel like they're there for you rather than trying to fix you, as it can also appear patronising, and that's not what you want when you want someone to open up, because that will make people close off from you if they think you're being patronising to them. Questions. So again, another one that could work, lots of questions, but in a lot of cases, asking a lot of questions can just become irritating, as you know what happened, and it can just become very irritating. So the next one is devil's advocate. So this means when, say, someone's shouted at you and you didn't think you deserved it, and then the person you're talking to says, oh, maybe they're just having a bad day. And of course, they could just be having a bad day, and they might actually be right. But in the moment when you're angry and upset, that is not what you want to hear, and it can just make you close off because it feels like you're taking the other person's side and not supporting them. So the next one is pity. So again, that can feel very patronising if someone's being like, oh, that sounds awful, I'm so sorry, and it can make you, some people find it makes them feel uncomfortable, and some people find it patronising. So that can make them close off and not want to talk to you about it because they don't want to play victim. So the last one I have on my list is amateur psychoanalysis. So this is when somebody starts using stuff they found on the internet, or like psychology studies or facts that they heard, to try and find the depth of your problem. Like maybe you could be saying that you feel that you're never going to find a nice guy to love, and then they could be saying, oh yeah, that's because you had a trauma in your childhood. And sometimes you don't want to hear that, because if they're wrong, it can make you close off completely because you feel like that person doesn't understand you. So there are the 7 deadly sins of communication, trying to get someone to open up and talk to you, and they're things that you should avoid. So if we say these to the people in the workshop, and then we can move on to doing a role play where I would play John and they would try and get me to open up. So we would have to, we'd want them to avoid these deadly sins. And if they say something that adheres to one of these 7 deadly sins, that's when we stop them and be like, nope, we can't have that, because that will make you close off. And that will mean through practice, they'll get used to finding different ways to get someone to open up, and those skills they can apply for their real life. So after that, we can move on to talking about Storms, the charity, and what this whole piece is about. who started this piece and came up with the message that they wanted to give across. So we also talk about Sue, the CEO of Storms, and talk about her experiences with suicide prevention and how her son had died unexpectedly, and this could make the people and the target audience will pay attention and listen to, at least listen to the messages that we're trying to give, and become more aware that how something is like male communication and being unable to communicate properly can lead to something very darker, like suicide. So also talking about this before handing out the leaflets could make them, because we'll hand out the leaflets straight afterwards, could make them think twice about just throwing them away or not looking at them, because these leaflets contain very important information that could genuinely help somebody and even go as far as to save someone's life, to stop them from feeling so isolated and feeling so trapped in their situation that they feel like they have to take their own life. So we then hand out the leaflets and ask the people in your group, what would you do with them? And then explain that actually, because they'll probably answer what they think we want to hear, not what they would actually do. But then we could explain, actually this is helpful even if it's not for you, and take the angle that if you keep these leaflets, you can help a friend and spot these signs before they start to feel isolated from everybody. So these leaflets contain information on how you can help someone talk and open up with wise talkers, which is important information and an important skill to learn to help people feel like they're not alone. So that would be the end of the workshop, and if there's any time at the end, we'll ask if they have any questions about the piece, any questions about the topic which we've been talking about, and we'll just consolidate our ideas and make sure they understand everything that we've talked about. And then that would be the end, and we would finish there feeling like they know and understand what we're talking about and the topic, and they have got across the message that we're trying to give.